the program.
Hi.
Not until the.
No, you can't talking to her. That was a left message on the machine.
Oh, hi, Robin.
Not on the pro.
I don't see me.
Hi. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
At the bottom of the pictures, under maybe under Susan Zisler, there's a thing that says "Stop Video." You may have to click on that to start the video.
Good Shabbos, everybody.
Good Shabbos.
Hi, good Shabbos. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Judy.
I'm not muted.
Shabbos.
No, I'm good. And maybe put the light on just a little bit more.
Diane Shank.
She's on.
She's on.
She's on.
Video.
You got video.
Diane, you're on.
I'm on.
You're on.
No, I don't want to
Aim the
bother.
camera, Diane.
Either aim the camera or put a pillow under you.
Okay.
Both Dianes.
Okay, I'm gonna get a pillow.
Barbie, it's so nice to see you.
I don't know.
Anyway,
We are going to go ahead and
Go there.
Okay, I
begin.
got a pillow.
There you go, Diane.
You, Hunter.
Okay.
Hey,
Diane.
Two Diane.
I think Diane.
Can you see me now?
Yes, Diane Schenker, we can see you.
Okay.
Don't ask. I spent the day there getting that camera in.
Now.
Yeah, okay. It was only an hour.
You'll love every minute of it.
Oh, Robin, I see you got on. Good.
Can you hear me? Because I don't know. Can't. Wow.
Yep.
It's so strange because it says live on YouTube. Put my
It
name.
is live on YouTube. We are live on YouTube.
I know. Maybe it's just where I don't know. So I have
Okay.
we still don't have power up here. So life is very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky
All
that I
right.
have a
We are going to begin. So I'm going to mute everybody. Noni, if you would please unmute yourself then. And I'm going to share the prayer book. And we start. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics, and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. Now, I don't think that anyone is expecting to do the blessing over the candles this evening. Is that true, Robin? Nobody. Okay, so I will do it. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this virtual sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. There we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik להדליק נר של שבת. And we turn now to the Kiddush. I also believe there is not someone who is reading the Kiddush, and so I will read the Kiddush this evening. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who finding favor with us, sanctified us with mitzvot. In love and favor, you made the holy Shabbat our heritage as a reminder of the work of creation. As first among our sacred days, it recalls the exodus from Egypt. You chose us and set us apart from the peoples. In love and favor, you have given us your holy Shabbat as an inheritance. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher krishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'vratzon inchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'beishit ki hu yom tehillah lemikra kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'chata v'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha b'ahava u'v'ratzon inhaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh Shabbat. Amen.
And now we continue with Lecha Dodi, the poem that invites us to welcome the Shabbat, picturing her as a bride, beautiful and bringing joy to us for this day.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shama v'zachor b'dibor echad yishmi'anu el hamichad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shemo tiferet v'letehila lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשי במחשבה תחילה, לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי ברך וקומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We continue with the Baruch Hu, the call to worship. I invite you, if you choose and if you're able, to rise. And if you would like to face to the east, we can all pray toward Jerusalem.
La 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 Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed, Le'olam Va'ed.
Let's be seated. Please join me in reading if you like. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael, Amcha Torah mitzvot chukim mishpatim otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachbenu v'komenu nasiach b'chukecha v'nizmach b'divrei Toratecha u'v'mitzvotecha Elam va'ed ki heim chayenu be'orech yameinu uvehem nege yomam v'layla.
Before we chant the Shema together, I want to say that I was a little rushed coming into the service tonight, kind of trying to eat something and then get myself ready and get my computer set up and get the lights on and all of that stuff. And in my sort of frazzledness, I didn't take a moment with you to sort of transition into the day of Shabbat. Now, the first few blessings that we do actually are for the purpose of helping us make that transition. But it has been our custom to take a moment at the beginning of the service to allow the stresses of the week to flow out of us and to allow the peace of Shabbat to flow in. And so let's take that moment right here before the Shema. We're about to declare the oneness of God, which could mean there's only one God, or it could mean that there is nothing but God, that everything is God. And so let's take that moment to breathe in and breathe out and find that relaxation moment, find that peace that we long for every day, but that we try to dwell in for this day. We continue with the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Avad. Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך ובשעתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Emet. Please read with me. All this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign and savior who delivers us from oppressors' hands and saves us from tyrants' fists. You work wonders without number, marvels beyond count. You give us life and steady our footsteps. You performed miracles for us before Pharaoh, signs and wonders in the land of the Egyptians. You led your people Israel out from their midst to freedom for all time. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously.
Ya bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye bye bim bam, ya bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye bye bim bam. Lai lai la la lai lai, ya bye bye bim bam. Lai lai la la lai lai, ya bye bye bim bam. Mi chamocha bailim Adonai, mi chamocha nidar b'kodesh, noradi lodosifele, noradi hilot osifele, ma'alechutecha rano vanecha, bokeya לפני משה ומרים, זלי זלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Give us a place to rest, Adonai, our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, hapurei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We have arrived at the tefillah, our prayer when we imagine ourselves actually standing in God's court, in God's presence. I invite you, if you choose and if you're able, to rise and face to the east.
Adonai, sefatai tiftach ufi agid tihilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohe avotinu v'imotinu, Elohe Avraham, Elohe Yitzchak, Elohe Yaakov, Elohe Sarah, Elohe Rivka, Elohe Rachel, Elohe Leah, Ha'el Hagdol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Bekonei HaKol, וזוכר חסדות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר, משיח מגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, לחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מוריד אתה, מחלקם חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים, רופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, לישני עפר, מי כמוך בגבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיי, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, לחיי הכל. אתה קדוש, בשמך הקדוש, קדושים בכל יום, יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, הקדוש.
Let's be seated. Please read with me. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yir'ah na'avod. We have reached the point in our service where we offer thanks for what we are grateful for this week. And so I invite you to put into the chat anything that you would like to offer gratitude for this evening, or if you would like to do so out loud and say what your gratitude is, please do so as well. You can unmute yourself and I'll acknowledge you. Linda Horowitz, do you have something to share? Linda?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay! I'm grateful that you can hear me. And I'm very grateful that I'm very grateful that COVID has stayed away from my household and those that I love. And I'm very grateful that we have electricity. I know quite a few people who don't. And I'm grateful to be here tonight. I'm grateful that we have services.
Modim anachnu lach, many things to be grateful for. Those of us who do have power, we are aware of the many people who don't. And for those who are with us who don't have power, you know, I'm grateful that there is a way that you were able to be with us anyway. Robin, what would you like to offer thanks
I'm
for?
actually I'm one of the people without power, but I am very grateful for a generator because I don't think you can hear it in the background because all of us have them. It's very loud, but because of our generator, we have electricity, we have a refrigerator that hasn't gone bad, we have water. I'm very grateful for that. And I'm grateful that despite not having internet, I'm actually able to see you guys on my phone. Our reception here has been very spotty. We haven't been getting we haven't been able to get through it a lot of times, but somehow this came through and I'm very happy to be here with everybody.
Very grateful that you're able to be with us, Robin. Modim anachnu lach. Ruth, what would you like to say?
Yeah, John and I are grateful to be here and to be joining you with services. I'm also grateful. Well, last Sunday, I had to put my dog down, and he was over 17 years old. We had him for 9 years, and I'm very grateful that I was able to give him a wonderful, loving family and a wonderful life.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Ruth. Modim anachnu lach for beautiful years with your dog, who I remember from seeing you walk him around our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Mona.
Well, I'm grateful because my son has been without electricity since Tuesday, and somebody who got electricity brought over their generator. So now at least he has some light, but it's been very stressful.
Yeah, I'm sure. Modim anachnu lach for generosity of neighbors and for generators when the power is out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a hard week for a lot of people, and so much of the gratitude is for small things, right? Or for things that we might not appreciate at other times. Charlotte.
My daughter Paula was without electricity until 12:30 this afternoon. And she was very, very grateful to be able to attack that pile of laundry and run her dishwasher, and they were going to spend the afternoon emptying out the refrigerator and washing it down and going out and restocking it. But so thankful to have power back. We don't think about how much we count on electricity until we're without it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Charlotte. Where does Paula live?
Paula lives in Staten Island.
Mm.
My daughter Roberta in Westchester was fine. Ossining did not seem to take that much of a hit, although she said that when she went into the town that a lot of stores were closed or didn't have power or only had partial power. So I guess it really depends on the luck of the draw where you were. Even here in Brooklyn, Bensonhurst had a really bad hit.
Yes, yes.
So it was really pure luck if you were hit or not hit.
That's right. That's right. So I'm glad that Paula got her power back.
So is she.
Modima nachnu lach for that. Let's see, I'm looking at the chat. Robert Rothman says he's grateful for night courses. Karen Kramer is grateful for this beautiful service. Lori Pandolfo says she's grateful for having a lot of phone calls this week and that it's great to keep in touch. Leah Sofian says she is grateful for Zoom Shabbat and for faith in a higher power. Deanna Roth says that her grandson's classmate called and said that he wanted to commit suicide. And that doesn't sound like something to be grateful for, but we are grateful that he made the call, and her grandson then called a few teachers and they did what they had to do to take care of the situation. So we are grateful for people who are suffering, who get the help that they need. Modim anachnu lach. Helene says her lights keep blinking on and off this evening. Yes, I am also in the midst of a thunderstorm over here, but so far, so good. So for all of these things, I'll add one more. I am grateful that this week I harvested a big bowl of grapes from my backyard. There's a grapevine, and this year, so many grapes. So now we have all these grapes and I don't know what to do with them, but it's for backyard bounty. What?
Called wine.
Everyone keeps saying make wine, but that's not so easy. And anyway, I was thinking of roasting them, but that's a separate issue. So Modima nachnu lach for all of these things. Noni?
We thank you, God, for the precious gift of life, wonder beyond words. The awareness of our hearts, our soul's eternal flame. The world with richness filled, beauty without and within. Modim anachnu lach. We thank you, O God, for the precious gift of life, wonder beyond words, wonder beyond words.
And we continue with our prayer for peace, for great peace upon Israel, our people, and upon the whole world. Peace in our souls, peace in our homes, and peace in the world.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom. tasim, tasim, le'olam, shalom rav, al Yisrael amcha, tasim, tasim, le'olam, v'tov b'necha levarech, et amcha Yisrael, b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים, תשים לעולם.
And now we continue quietly. If you can see the words on the screen, there are words we might use there. If you have a prayer book, the words are on pages 180 and 181. Or, of course, we can always use the words in our own hearts. We continue quietly.
May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O God, my rock and my redeemer, my rock and my redeemer. May they be acceptable in your sight, O God.
We turn our thoughts now to those among us and those in our hearts who are ill and who are in need of healing of body, of mind, or of spirit. If you have names you would like to add that you did not send into the office, you may add those names in the chat now. I'll also give you a chance to say them aloud if you prefer that. We hold in our thoughts and in our hearts for healing this evening, Jesse Sakharov, Ronnie Turek, Ira Weiss, Elaine Drucker, Alan Fremer, Susan Bilecki, Andrew Mazzella, Jeffrey Levinson, Michael Luck, Barry Strumpf, Selma Carl, Jacqueline Halpern, Esther Bat-Lucy, Shelley Oken Berman, Davida Shana Basfredel, Sherry Wiseman, Gigi Bias, Brendan Bias, Margot Bias, Suzanne Leknos, Mel Lipton, Linda Kushner Silverman, Joellen Fox, Barbara and Irv Weiner, Andy Glansman, Ira and Deanna Roth, Ellie Heinrich, Phyllis O'Neill, Marcy Babiatsky, Shirley Amrani, Sue Ann Fishkin Horowitz, Della Cohen, Susan Shuro, Iris Merlis, May Sun Lei, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Michaela Schaefer, Gidel Bina Batyakov, Eddie DeAngelis, Nettie Trommer, Mia Gannon, Dolores Weinberger, Ingrid Grosso, Roberta Gotthelf, Audrey Cohen, Fran Sisler, Ruth Ryback, Alana Aram, Chanel Kamabach, Warren Feliz, Jimmy Jenkins, Peter Gale, Paul Kastick, Harumi Rhodes, and Hiroko Yajima. We include also the members of the New York Police Department, Jane Berman, Harry Bower, Louise Dankberg, Barbara Magid, Freya Kashmir, Delphine Wolf, Darren Brewer, Marion McGivney, Inga Probetsky, Kaki Akola, Angela Marie Tassilo, and all of those who have been suffering with COVID-19 or from the measures that we've taken to try to mitigate the spread of the virus, and also all of those who have been without power in the last few days. Does anyone have other names that they would like to add? Judith?
Yeah, thank you, Rabbi. Good Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Stacy, Julia Lauren, David and Wilma Mauser, Hannah Paines.
Thank you. Robin?
The people who have been injured in the rise in gun violence, especially in Brooklyn, but all over the city and all over the country.
Mhm. Thank you. Helene?
You mentioned the names for me: Jane Berman, Harry Boa, Louise Dankberg, and Barbara Magid. Thank you, Rabbi.
Mm-hmm. Ruth?
Liz Yasser, Park Shing Lam, Richard Zagam, Mark Steiner, Paul Steiner, Patty and Erwin Cohen, Monica Beyer, Marion Mandel.
Thank you, Ruth.
You're welcome.
We also include all of those who have been wounded in service to our country or Israel, and those who have been hurt in other disasters recently that we have not mentioned by name. Gerard adds, thank you, Gerard, those who were wounded in Beirut from the huge explosion there. Misha Berach.
מי שברך אבותינו מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. מי שברך אמותינו מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It is, as always, wonderful to see some of your faces and to be with you in a way that is very real, although we are not physically together. We're in the book of Deuteronomy in our Torah portions, and the book of Deuteronomy, more than the other books of the Torah, is the one that links prosperity and health to good behavior and hardship and ruin to bad behavior. The beginning of this week's Torah portion, Ekev, is a case in point. We read, "And if you do obey these rules and observe them faithfully, the eternal your God will maintain the gracious covenant that God made on oath with your forebears. God will love you and bless you and multiply you. God will bless the issue of your womb and the produce of your soil, your new grain and wine and oil, the calving of your herd and the lambing of your flock, in the land that God swore to your forebears to give to you. You shall be blessed above all other peoples. There shall be no sterile male or female among you or among your livestock. The Eternal will ward off from you all sickness. God will not bring upon you any of the dreadful diseases of Egypt about which you know, but will inflict them upon all your enemies. And there are other places where we read about all of the terrible things that Deuteronomy says will happen if we do not obey the rules. I find, if you know me, you probably know that I find passages like this one very difficult. I simply don't believe that God will reward me for certain types of behavior and punish me for other types of behavior. I don't believe that God's love depends on what I do or don't do. But here this passage is, so I need to find a way to understand it. And this evening, I'm looking to the history of the book of Deuteronomy, which means, of course, thinking about the Torah as a document written over time by people, as opposed to being given by God to Moses at Mount Sinai as a unit. The books of 2 Kings and 2 Chronicles tell us about the religious reforms of King Josiah, who ruled Judah from about 640 to 609 BCE, before the Common Era. In the temple in Jerusalem in 622 BCE, ostensibly, they discovered a book of the law, which is now thought by scholars to be the book of Deuteronomy. Now, I always have to pause for a moment when I talk about this discovery, because it's like, can you imagine this? It's like if somebody went into our temple, into Bishert, and like went upstairs and opened the door to where the organ pipes are and was like, oh, hey, look, I found a scroll. Who knew? Where did that come from? I just think it's funny. But scholars believe, of course, that this scroll was less discovered at that time than it was actually kind of written around that time. And that means that the book of Deuteronomy was written later than the other books of the Torah, and of course, much later than when and how it purports to take place, just before the Israelites are entering the promised land and spoken by Moses to them. So when we understand Deuteronomy as being written much later, we call it a retrojection. It's envisioning something from the past, but it's really speaking to the people in the future. So the passages about divine reward for obeying the law and divine punishment for violating the law are not really about what the Israelites about to enter the land are going to do. Rather, it's about the people reading the scroll of Deuteronomy much later in the 600s BCE, and even up to today. So I hope that makes sense. In other words, the author is looking back at what has happened over the years to the people, and then projected back and imagined a warning that is actually an explanation for bad things that have happened along the way. So bad things have happened. Well, look, the people were warned about their behavior and they didn't listen, and that's why those things happened. But it's actually putting the warning, writing the warning after everything that happened. So for me, this helps to understand that passage about rewards for following the rules. And here's an analogy to our current situation. Perhaps you have heard this kind of talk or read articles, as I have, that look back at the beginning of the pandemic. And these articles and these discussions say the mayor and the governor could have saved many lives if they had shut down more quickly, if the schools had been closed sooner, if mask wearing had been mandated earlier. And that's probably true. Although I am one of those who believes that the city and state did the best they could with the information they had at the time. And I know not everyone agrees with that. And so we look back now and we say, if we had followed the rules then that we now know to be effective, the pandemic would be less severe. And it's one of the ways that we can say now, follow the rules now so that more people can stay healthy and soon we can begin to get things back on track. Now, of course, this analogy involves natural consequences rather than divine reward or punishment. But in the time of the Torah, people believed that God was in fact behind all of the natural consequences. So talking about what people should have done in the past, whether it is in the form of instructions to people in the past that they then violated, or in the form of criticism of what people did in the past, that can be helpful for the future, right? We look back at what happened, we say, here's what we've learned, here is what we should do now. We can, if we see how people have failed or succeeded in the past, then we can use that knowledge to inform the choices we make. We often don't, and we see in other parts of the country that people are not, but we could do so. I want to make a distinction here between what is valuable because it is instructive and what is valuable because it is comforting. Our Torah portion is not about reassurance or comfort to me. Rather, it is to teach us to behave in certain ways. Taking out the language of reward and punishment, the message is that if we live by God's laws, our lives will be better for it. And for us as practitioners of Reform Judaism, that means that we are required to follow the laws of Judaism that are about ethics, and that we should learn about the ceremonial and ritual laws and incorporate them into our practice if they bring more holiness into our lives. I do believe that my life and our lives are better when we practice Judaism to build strong relationships in our community, to take care of those less well off than we are, and to act in all things with honesty and integrity. But our tradition doesn't just offer instruction, it also offers comfort. This week, we find that comfort in our Haftarah in the book of Isaiah. And I'm going to read you the passage that I sent out with the Zoom links this week because I love this passage. The Haftarah begins, Zion says, the Eternal has forsaken me. My God has forgotten me. Can a woman forget her baby or disown the child of her womb? Though she might forget, I could never forget you. See, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands, and your safety is always in my thoughts. When we feel forgotten, when we are bereft, when we are lonely and sad, it doesn't help us to hear that we wouldn't be in this situation if we had behaved differently. Rather, in those times, there is reassurance that whatever has happened, we are not alone. I love the idea of being engraved on God's palms. The word, the idea, God, means different things to different people. Some do feel emotionally close to God, feel a divine presence. I have rarely felt that, though I yearn for it. Others find that moments of connection with other people or with nature provide a sense of connection to something greater that might be called God. We all have the opportunity to do God's work in the world, to show others that they are not forgotten, that they are cared about, that they too are engraved on the palms of God's hands. May we learn when we are open to learning, and may we practice life habits that recognize and help us experience the holiness of being alive. When we are hurting too much to learn or to hear well-intentioned advice, may we feel held and loved and remembered until our strength grows and we are able to engage again. Amen and Shabbat Shalom.
Be with us in this holy place. Be in the circle you have made of us. Hold us in the hollow of your hand and us in this holy place. Be in the circle you have made of us. Hold us in the hollow of your hand and teach us, enfold us in the love that makes a circle round. Be with us in this holy place. Be in the circle you have made of us. Hold us in the hollow of your hand and teach us, enfold us in the love that makes the circle round. In the love that makes a circle round. In the love that makes the circle round.
We continue with the Aleinu. I invite you, if you choose and if you're able, to rise.
Aleinu leshabeach l'adon hakol, atit gedolah leyotzeh bereshit, shehu notei shamayim v'yosed haaretz, u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim mimahal, u'shchinatu zo begavhei meromim, u'Eloheinu in od va'anachnu koreim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu b'nei emav hayad Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
Let's be seated. We turn our thoughts now to those who are no longer with us, our loved ones who have died in the past days or weeks or months, or in past years at this time of the year. If you have names to add for the mourners Kaddish that you have not sent to the office, please put them in the chat now, and I will also give you a chance to say names aloud if you prefer that. We remember those who have died in the past year. Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz, Helen Zagerman-Schwimmer, Ido Sheffi, Elaine Gordet, Dr. Stephen Kamholtz, Carol Gross, Carol Andre, Robert Serpico, Jeanette Riley, Melvin Barish, William Lemp, Ina Sandals, Martin Shankin, Solomon Tettelbaum, Sean Singer, Jeff Harris, Sammy Berger, Rabbi Kenneth Roseman, Chaim Braunzweig, Harry Baylor, Ben Schaefer, Shirley Hyatt Tobias, Myron Klein, Ted Tobias, Sandy Gannon Abel, David Ribler, Bess Newman, Buzz Lorch, Benjamin Binyamin Elwood, Edward Albino, Joseph Davis, Jerry Charon, Gary Zeitlin, Sean Devlin, David Levy, Lenny Drucker, Beverly Tredinick, Evelyn Pincus, Rita Spiro, Beatrice B.J. Jacobs, Melvin Jorgrau, Gloria Katzin, Lorraine Elner, Amanda Corwin, Mel Paul, Nigel Grant, Benjamin Resnick, Robin Silverman, and Edie Edelman. We also remember this week Wilford Brimley and Pete Hamill. On our yahrzeit list, the names include Lillian Blumenthal, who was Jocelyn Joseph's mom, Carol Brandt, who was a cousin of Tamara Kerner, Eli Jacobson, Myron Jacobson's father, Albert Mickey Levinson, Jeff Levinson's grandfather, Mendel Moldovan, Maddie Kay's grandfather, and Beatrice Romano, Martin Morowitz's aunt. Steve Sufian is including his cousin Rita, and Leah Sofian said that her dear friend Jennifer Toller had her second yahrzeit on Monday. Does anyone else have names that they would like to add? Alan?
On the list is Tobias Cass. He was the husband of Kate Cass, and Kate, for many, many years, ran the Judaica shop after services on Friday night. He was the father of my youth group compadre, Carl Cass, and he was also Karen Eichel's uncle.
Thank you, Alan. Charlotte?
Yes, I want to recall to your attention Ilsa Corcus, who was a dear friend and served as recording secretary for a number of years. And I also want to mention Suzanne Ruth Levy, who was a very long time Temple member.
Thank you very much. Helene?
I was going to mention the same two people that Charlotte mentioned.
Thank you, Helene. Ruth?
Rita Belay, Jay Jenkelowitz, and Howard Jenkelowitz.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Karen Kramer includes Leatrice Langer. We also include all of those who have died from COVID-19, those who died in the explosion in Beirut, and those who have died by other causes around the world, whether war or famine or terror or disaster, or alone and homeless on the streets of our cities. I invite you to participate in the Mourner's Kaddish according to your custom. If you don't have your own custom with regard to the Kaddish, I invite you to rise if you're able and join in. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, Bagala uvizman kariv yimru amen. Yehe shmei rabba mevorach leolam ulalme almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudisha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shamaya, b'chaim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to the bereaved wherever you may be. And let us say, amen. Let's be seated.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
A few announcements before we conclude. Let's see. Tomorrow morning at 9:45 is Beyachad, which will be facilitated by Rabbi Pinsky. And after Beyachad at 11 a.m., Rabbi Pinsky will be leading services. The Zoom link went out on Thursday. I think it is a different link than last week, so make sure you're using this week's email with the link. Tuesday is Torah study. Is Sam back leading again? Sam is back leading again. I think Sam and Fran have successfully moved. And so Sam is leading Torah study Tuesday at 1 p.m. The big calendar meeting is this upcoming week. So if you have a stake in the calendar meeting, talk to Ellen Rothstein about that. Next Friday night services are at 8 as usual. And then next Saturday, I will be leading Beyachad and services next Saturday morning. Deanna says that she's remembering the name Adin Steinsaltz as very important. Yes, he is a very important scholar, and what he did was he taught Talmud, and he wrote a number of books for beginners to Talmud and to help people learn how to read Talmud. And he made the Talmud accessible to a lot more people through his scholarship and the work that he did. So it's a great loss, but he also leaves behind a great legacy. I have a number of his books from the days of my studies in terms of how to learn to study Talmud. So I hope that's helpful, Deanna, and also for others. That's Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz. He also did his own translation and commentary of the Talmud, which is generally widely considered to be very, very good. Any other announcements that I have forgotten? Anyone? Hearing none. We are going to sing our closing song, which is Ein Adir.
מיפיאל ומיפיאל יבורך כל ישראל אין אדיר כאדוני ואין ברוך ואין אמרון אין גדולה כתורה ואין דשנך כישראל מיפיאל ומיפיאל יבורך כל ישראל אין הדור כאדוני ואין ותיק ואין אמרון אין זכה כתורה ואין חכמיך כישראל מיפיאל ומיפיאל יבורך כל ישראל אין תואר כאדוני ואין יחיד כבן אמרון אין כבירה כתורה ואין למדך כישראל מיפיאל ומיפיאל יבורך כל ישראל אין פודאי כאדוני ואין צדיק כבן אמרון אין קדושה כתורה ואין תומכך כישראל מיפיאל ומיפיאל יבורך כל ישראל מיפיאל ומיפיאל יבורך כל ישראל.
Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha Shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine on you and be gracious to you. May God lift God's face toward you and give you peace. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.